Hey everybody, welcome back to my dungeon basement. We're going to be talking about All Summer in a Day, which is probably the one of my favorite stories, but also maybe the most appropriate considering what we're going through right now with the quarantining. You know, a story about a bunch of kids who have to stay inside the whole time, right? Sound a little familiar? Well, let's get right to it here. The first question was, what was your reaction to the way the kids treated Margot? And yes, you pronounce that name Margot. It is not Margit. Okay? It's just like ballet or filet or Chevrolet. You don't say the T at the end of those. So this one was a total opinion question, but some of the good answers that I saw, people are saying that they were shocked or they were, upset or mad that the kids were treating Margot the way that they were treating her. And I guess I just have one little question to you. If you feel upset that they are treating Margot so terribly, when you see it at school, if we ever get back to school,
not bloody likely.
Do you feel upset when you see other people who are being picked on or made fun of? And if you are, then do you do anything? That's my question to you. So, it's something to think about there. If you're upset or if it horrifies you or whatever, maybe next time you see something going down, you should step in and do something about it, right? All right, and then question 2. How does Margot know what the sun is like? That is because, and a lot of people got this right, she only came to live on Venus, where the story is set, 5 years ago, and she still remembers when she was 4 years old what the sun was like back on Earth. So the rest of these children have been stuck on Venus their whole lives, and the last time the sun came out, they were only 2, it said. So I don't know about you, but I don't think most of you can probably remember much when you were 2 years old. So that is how she knows what the sun is like.
The sun has absolutely no effect on you.
Question 3 is quite simple too. Why are the children so excited for the teacher to come back into the classroom at the start? Well, of course, because scientists have predicted that today, for 1 hour, and actually the teacher says 2 hours, the sun is actually going to come out on Venus. And they want to go outside and experience it, and they're super excited about it. And the teacher is super excited about it too. That's kind of why when she runs into the room and she's like, okay guys, it's about time. Is everybody here? And everybody's like, yeah, we're all here. And they're just like, okay, let's go. And they run out the door. The teacher is just as excited as the kids, so she doesn't even take attendance, which she should have, and this whole thing would have been averted, which we haven't even talked about yet. So then the next question is about the prank that was pulled on Margot, and it says, why do all the kids go along with the prank on Margot? And that prank, of course, is to lock Margot in the closet. I know exactly how Margot feels because I once locked myself in a coat closet. So I was able to call Mr. Christie and Mr. Toff for help. I probably would have died in there if I didn't have my cell phone.
We now return to the Transformers.
Weird little girl who's not like any of the rest of them. She is pale and ghostly. It says it's like the water had washed the color out of her eyes, the color out of her lips, and her golden hair. And she's just like this ghost of a creature. She's super quiet. It's like out of all of these children, this girl is the girl that needs sunlight the most, right? She is like near to dying without the sunlight. And it does talk about how her parents want to take her back to Earth. It's going to cost thousands of dollars to do, but they're going to do it. And again, it's probably because this girl might possibly die if she doesn't see the sun. William wants to throw her in the closet. He's sort of the ringleader. And again, the question is, why do the kids let it happen? And that's a good question for you guys, right? Why do the kids let this happen? Some people in their responses said that it was because they were scared of William as well, which is maybe a good answer. You know, peer pressure is very powerful. It's that mob mentality where, you know, you might not think something is right, but because everybody else is going along with it, or maybe the majority of people are going along with it, you just sort of go along with it too. And it's like you don't want to be, you know, it's almost like you don't want to be the outside person, because if you're the outside person, then guess what? Those things that they're doing to that outside person, they might do to you too. So it might be a little bit of fear, a little bit of peer pressure, that type of thing. But then the next question, how do the children react when they realize that they left Margot in there after the sun came out for that 1 hour, 2 hour time span? They come in and it says that they are quiet, right? And they are like horrified that they did this and they left her in that closet, because maybe they didn't even mean to leave her in that closet. Maybe they just wanted to shove her in there for a few minutes or whatever before the teacher came, and then they were going to let her out, but they totally forgot about her. It says that they were like staked to the ground where they stood and nobody wanted to say anything, because I think they realized how awful it was of what they did to her. They were almost sorry for doing it, right? They weren't happy about it anymore. They were horrified that they did this to her, right? Which kind of tells you that the kids, again, don't necessarily want to be like evil. They just were trying to play a prank on Margot, and the prank went a little bit too far. And doesn't that happen sometimes? Doesn't a prank or something go a little bit too far? And then when it does, don't you just feel awful about it? Oopsies, just like pitch meetings on YouTube.
Have some other catchphrases too. Like what? I don't know. Fair enough. Did you forget to come up with some? Yeah. Whoopsie.
I actually kind of answered the next question there about why do you think they reacted they did. I already mentioned it. They felt horrible. So we don't have to waste any more time on that. We can get to it. Now, what the children learn from their experiences, this is kind of, again, an opinion question. Some of you on your answers said nothing. They learned nothing, which I don't know if I agree with. There are other people that said, you know, they learned that, again, like I just said, that they went a little bit too far.
She may have gone too far.
They did something absolutely horrible. Maybe they learned that they'll never pull a prank again or something. But some people had some good answers like that. Other people, like a lot of you, said, well, they learned nothing. Whatever you thought about. What are you thinking about? What are you thinking about?
Think.
Ooh, this last question's a doozy, where it says, what do you think should be done to William and the other kids? You guys can be quite savage with your answers, because there's a lot of people that are like, well, in the next 7 years, they should not be allowed to go see the sun. Like this little prank that went a little bit too far. You guys are going to deny a once in a 7-year experience just for this stupid little prank? You have to think about this too. They are like 9 years old when this prank happened. And in 7 years, they're going to be 16 years old, right? They're going to be in high school. Do you think it would be fine if whatever you did when you were in like 4th grade, that you should suffer consequences for that when you are a sophomore in high school? I'm going to say the famous phrase that I hear all the time, that's not fair, right? And a lot of you had that as your answer. Like, well, they shouldn't be able to see the sun for the next 7 years when it happens. And it's a pretty severe thing to do. You just have to think about that. It's 7 years. Was it a dumb mistake? Yeah, it was a dumb little mistake. Some of you, obviously, your answer was not very specific. You just said they should be punished. And I look at that and I say, well, that is the question. That's what the question's asking is how do you think they should be punished, right? If I could quantify 2020 school year, I think I could quantify it by saying, that's not fair. I know that's not all of you, but you know who you are that I'm talking about. And that's it, guys. You've read all the short stories. Like I said, this one's my favorite. I'm kind of a sucker, of course, you know, for science fiction. I usually bring up the question like, do you like the way they think that Venus is, for instance? You have to remember that this story was written back in like 1950. They did not know a whole lot about the planets like we do now. So to them, you know, looking out into space, they see this planet that's, you know, has basically covered with clouds. And so what do you think? Like, oh, if a planet is covered in clouds the entire time, then it must be raining the whole time.
I wish the rain would stop just once.
Can't rain all the time.
And what's really interesting is if you've ever played Destiny, the video game, which of course I have, they talk about Venus, and in that game, Venus is a jungle planet. It has like these like old cities that have all these like vines and stuff growing on it, and there's, you know, trees and stuff everywhere. So I almost feel like the creators of that game sort of got some of their inspiration from this story. They said, you know, some of our video games and movies and things, they are influenced by, you know, old stories and writings, and that's awesome. But that's it, everybody. Thank you for sticking around and watching these videos in my dungeon. I'm gonna go now, so thank you for sticking around. Peace.